with Vengeance Blood in rotation.
It's still a great deck, and when you go back to Unlimited, you've got added effects of Blood Wolf along with your Savage Wolf, so you have a really nice curve you can put together. Looks like too good. GOMMS' Vengeance Blood got banned out, and the Aggro Forestcraft deck of Rev Glow banned out as well. And now we're getting into a Stormhaven Craft versus Aggro Forestcraft matchup. Realistically, both of these decks have the options of popping off very fast. So it's just about who gets that better curve and who can sustain that damage.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because I think Aggro Forest, very powerful, but it doesn't actually... You need to hit a lot of generation and get things like Elf Song and whatnot to actually ramp up damage, right? And Wood of Brambles is a little bit irrelevant when you're fighting against amulets. You know what I mean? So all of a sudden, all the amulets pop, and they have just a little more value than what your tokens can handle, and then all of a sudden, things go very poorly.
Interesting. Glow here deciding to go with the Dogma so that he can get damage in early instead of developing more of a board with Pinion Prayer. Interesting choice with the Goblin being on the table. Maybe he just wants to kind of clear off the board for GOMMS early, does not want to get that Forestcraft deck built up for a nice Elf Song.
I guess the question in my head is, if he had saved the Hollow Dogma, is there an even more ideal curve that he could have hit with that Hollow Dogma, a bigger tempo swing that would have earned him more than just the 2 points in damage value, and slowing down Forestcraft as well, right?
Right. Well, in my mind, he did have other cards in his hand that he could have curved out with, and Hollow Dogma is really nice for when you top deck those amulets in the mid-game, so you can utilize them pretty quickly. But it's still a really good option. Again, it gets that damage in early, gets the board cleaned a little bit early, and yet another card in White Tiger, along with those amulets you were talking about, that kind of side skirt the Elfchild Maze and even Sylvan Justice if that was an option, things like that. So really hard to deal with followers here on the side of Glow.
Yeah. Got the Elf Girl Liza as well, but unfortunately, that only protects from damage, not removal. Not that I think he's going to use any of that, but it is important to note that little difference. For example, you know, that Black Inscription could still
Black
work,
Inscription side skirts that quite well. Looks like Glow's going with more of a board trade than just going all face here. Kind of like it when you're facing down a little small army here.
Yeah. And that White Tiger... One of the few times I feel like a 2-defense ward actually ended up being...
It's impactful.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's one of those cards that Forestcraft can't really side skirt. It's got to run right through. It's got to brute force down the White Tiger. I really like that option. And this is not something we've seen in a long time, where amulets are just in play all the time. You can't really evolve to kill the follower because they're not out yet, so he kind of like circumvents the mid-game evolution race that we see a lot of times in rotation.
Yeah. Stormhaven can be quite devastating for that reason. It takes a while for the followers to pop, but they get instant value, and you could not as easily stop them just because amulets are slightly more harder to interact with.
Absolutely.
Slightly more harder. Good. Excellent.
We've got this. All right, and GOMMS playing his first big threat in Fairy Driver. If it does manage to last the turn, he can get a lot of use out of it, but he does have the replacement in hand, so I'm not too worried about throwing the first one away here.
Glow of the Starways to draw a little bit. The only follower that Glow can play is the Bird Keeping, so he's going to actually skip an evolution turn, use Black Inscription, and set up more amulets for a swing later on.
And here's where the game gets a little interesting for me for Glow. And going back to his early game decisions of using his Hollow Dogmas very early. Now GOMMS is technically going to be ahead on board. He's got more cards in hand. He's got more followers in play. And without those Dogmas in hand anymore, this Beast Call Aria is not going to pop for 3 more turns. When he plays the Bird Keeping Disciple, that amulet's not going to pop for 2 more turns. That's another Pinion Prayer that it produces. So it's going to be a little while for Glow to ramp back up. So
yeah, I think what's going to be very interesting here for GOMMS is how he can utilize his evolution orbs very smartly in this scenario, because there is a window of 2 turns, 3 turns perhaps, where GOMMS is going to be able to kind of do whatever he wants, and then Glow actually swings back in quite a large way after that, right? Because then the Pinion Prayers, the Beast Call Arias will all line up if he plays Bird Keeping Disciple on this turn.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
That was a really good option to draw here. I'm sure Glow was very happy to see March Hare's Tea Time, of course, being able to take out 2 of GOMMS' followers, the big ones.
So we'll see. Of course, you had the tempo advantage, and you were going first, but because you kind of had a skip turn there, you're using the Evolution Orb and the swing from the March Hares to clear board. And, again, there's not a lot of options in hand, so... Already down to 12, and the Eperia off the draw. It's so good.
Eperia's kind of dicey, though, because if Glow can manage to clear off the rest of the followers, Eperia can be taken down by Havencraft with that Tribunal sitting in Glow's hand. So, but board space is also a thing, so you've got to be careful. Just very interesting match. Again, we haven't seen Stormhaven in such a long time, and one of the things, if I remember correctly, that was kind of off about it when we first saw it, not that it was bad, it's just its draws in the mid to late game can get very awkward when you don't draw your Garudas, you don't draw the things that basically let you present your amulets in a more tempo fashion, and it's kind of what I talked about at the beginning of this match, where it's not just about the early setup, it's about the sustained damage over time, and right now I think GOMMS is slightly ahead in that fashion.
So, the smarter move for GOMMS here. Fill out the board and just try to swing face as he can. I mean, he has a lot of great options, what with Insect Lord and the Dance of Death, depending on which one he wants to go for.
Honestly, in aggro decks, if you can get away with it, going wide and getting your follower damage in first is always proper, because it just allows you to keep pushing, and then that Dance of Death can close out the game instead of you just stopping to play it.
Right.
This is a little dicey. This does possibly open up a potential for a Tribunal to knock down this Hyperia. I would have preferred to go wide here, just because you know that Haven's board's kind of filled up, and if you go wide, they can't really deal with all of it. But GOMMS goes with the more board trade-centric play, and he's going to get punished for it.
Yeah. There's definitely a way to guarantee the Tribunal hits the Hyperia, and that's going to be a kind of a tough loss. We don't see cards in hand for a Roach combo just yet.
Right.
And now you don't really have a board, and remember that 2-tempo kind of grace period that GOMMS had is quickly running short. He's going to get a draw off the Starways, and then also get the pop from the Beast Call.
That's right. So, yeah, the board's going to start getting taken over by Glow again, and that's kind of the tug of war in this matchup. And once the amulets pop, you get tempo back.
Yeah.
So you've got to kind of push through when you have those openings. GOMMS, I feel like, played a little too, I wouldn't say safe. That's not the word, because he played Hyperia. He was trying to end the game. But I think he played it in such a way where it was easier to answer.
Insect Lord gonna boom for 1, and Snow White comes back again. I guess he can airbound it, but I'm a little weary of that, especially because that means a top deck Roach can't really help you.
That's right, especially if he plays out these threats right now. So playing the Goblin so that he can have an immediate answer to the 2-1 that's going to pop off the Beast Call Aria. Similar fashion with the Fairy, just so that he can have something. But again, it makes that Insect Lord a little worse. Top deck Roach is a little worse. Dance of Death's kind of the last option for damage. I don't know if it's going to be enough.
Oh, wow. Having the White Tiger, too, is just so frustrating.
Without any Evolution Orbs, that's kind of backbreaking.
Yeah.
Again, you have to brute force through it, and that 1/1 Fairy is not going to be good enough to do it by herself.
Yeah. My gosh, White Tiger is finding a lot of value in this matchup.
Not just good against Runecraft, also decent against Forestcraft, apparently.
Okay, well,
how does this work if it deals damage to the Tiger?
Oh, wow. There it is. Yeah, I guess it can't be targeted, right? So
Interesting. So
similar
never mind.
to kind of Tribunal having the...
That's right. That's right. So you can side skirt a little bit, Insect Lord finding the right target there. And now we're kind of back to square one. GOMMS has a way to top deck through this. However, that Tribunal's going to pop next turn, so Hyperia...
Yeah, still not a good play.
Yeah. That was pretty good.
Everything's slowing down here.
Yeah.
You have to remember the March Hares is going to pop, but you obviously can't play followers if it's just one, because that's effectively just giving away resources.
Right.
So again, tempo goes back to Glow.
Was a great draw. That allows Rev Glow to tempo if he wants to. Looks like he's going to save it, though, even with only one card.
I do think that's smart. There's a bunch of one defense followers, right?
It's true. And it's going to be good that he did save it because of that top deck Fairy Whisper. It looks like he's going to play it out, play all the fairies out, and it's going to get punished by the Star Torrent, so the hold was great.
Oh, no, 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 no. Just as planned. Just as planned. Glow might be speeding ahead here. Oh.
And a Garuda.
4, 6. Wow, that's so much damage.
So close. All right, GOMMS has one top deck left here. Can he do it?
What top deck would actually close it out?
Another dance? That's not going to do it.
Yeah, there's no way for him to clear either. Yeah, that's going to do it. Glow is going to be able to take this first game. Interesting. I haven't seen a lot of Stormhaven Aggro Forest matchups.
Yeah, it's long been forgotten. Realistically, Aggro Forest was never around when Stormhaven was a deck. Aggro Forest only became popular once there were options like Airbound Barrage and Hyperia and things like that where it could actually close the game out. Before that, You could do some roach things, you know what I mean, but it wasn't really consistent. There was no fairy driver. There was none of this end game that we see now in Agroforest Craft. So this matchup is new to me.
Yeah. It's interesting. We didn't see very much Brambles or Elf Song or anything like that, right? That provides a little more oomph in the early game.
That's right.
Which probably hurt GOMMS quite a bit.
All right, and everybody's favorite friend. If you guys have not seen D-Shift in a while, this is the time. We get to see it again. It's unlimited, of course, with its adjusted cost up to 20, down or up from 18.
Yeah.
When it was a little too strong.
Adjusted and Mysterian Knowledge. You can only have one of them.
That's right.
In the list, which hampers its effectiveness just by a bit.
That's right. Especially against a deck like Agroforest Craft, this is going to be a rough matchup.
So many cards here. We got Dimension Shift, Sorcery Cache is not something that we see, really.
What's interesting about this this match in general too is if GOMMS does win this match, then we get to see a Dimension Shift mirror.
Oh,
and that's something we haven't seen in a long time. I'm actually super excited to see that. Because it's a very interesting way you have to play that matchup. A lot of people who've never seen Dimension Shift, or a lot of people who actually just never played the deck when it was around, don't really know the intricacies, and it'll be fun to talk about that come next game if it happens.
Oh my god, the Elf Song off the top, but he's going to get two of them maybe pinged down by the Missile and the Wind Blast.
Still got a nice board, though.
Yeah, he does. And there's that card, Fairy Circle.
Yeah.
Fairy Circle here, it actually enables a full board and Elf Song to come down on the same turn.
That's right.
So board control is very important here for Glow, and he must know.
He didn't go for the Wind Blast here.
Uh-oh. This is going to hurt.
This is going to hurt quite a bit. This is going to be a nice
evolution
big board.
turn?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And this is basically the perfect scenario for Elf Song. Oh my god.
All that damage, Evo to the face. Feels good, man.
The big thing, too, is he has the Airbound Barrage drawn in hand. If a Roach pops up after this, it's going to be very, very tough for Glow to find a win here, I feel.
I mean, realistically, Dimension Shift can't pop off, especially with a hand like this, until about turn 8. And GOMMS has the Fairy Driver, has fairies in hand, already has a board. Like, this is going to be very rough for Glow to stay alive here.
Yeah, this is tough. Oh no, Glow is not happy about how that went down.
Yeah, he's like, whoops.
Oh, he got the Roach!
Hello!
How does that work?
I think I just did an Igni there. That's what he does.
Yeah, that is what he does.
Yeah.
Can you do his whole intro line?
I don't think so.
I think you can. You have to believe.
I'd have to practice.
Oh my god, look at this damage though. Oh my god.
Yeah. That's a lot of damage.
Yep.
Matter of fact, that's over lethal.
You didn't even have to spend
one evolution orb.
Yeah. Giveaway.
Yeah. Right. Getting people ramped up for things like that. That's no good. All right, guys, buckle your seats. Dimension Shift mirror. So
it's been a while since we've seen aggro like that.
That's right.
Doesn't happen in rotation.
It doesn't. And Dimension Shift was always weak against super aggro decks like that, so kind of an unfortunate matchup for Glow. But this match, one of the old schools of thought with Dimension Shift versus Dimension Shift was never play a follower. If you ever play a follower, you allow your opponent to play spells out of their hand, which increases their spell boosting.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful with that. However, one thing or two things did change since the old mirror matchup was a thing. One is Magic Owl. Magic Owl kind of beats the rule in some ways because you can basically just get so far ahead with Magic Owls that it doesn't matter that you're allowing your opponent to play spells on them. So you can go off very fast with it. And Giant Chimera, it's a side win condition now that never existed before. So you could just win, whereas you might never have been able to win just on the back of the fact that you can play something that ends the game.
Yeah. Giant Chimera can be very effective. GOMMS actually mulligans it in the interest of finding more options. And kind of the gamble, the risk, if you could call it that, is Giant Chimera is a turn 9 win, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But sometimes Dimension Shift can beat you a little bit before that.
A little bit before that. Technically speaking, you can go down to turn 7. I don't know if that's still possible with the current lists, but I remember you could do it about turn 7. Turn 8's about the norm. And GOMMS very happy that he drew that Dimension Shift. That's one of the things that you're looking for in this matchup. Of course, the first person to kind of go off is usually the winner. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're kind of talking about finding Giant Chimera wins off the back of playing Dimension Shift on a turn, Dimension Shift on a turn, and then Giant Chimera, right?
Right.
So that effectively is going off on like turn 7.
Yeah.
But
yeah, technically speaking, you can just D-shift into Giant Chimera as the win condition. You don't have to build up the crazy boards like you used to. But Golem Assault is another new addition to a spell boost deck like this, where it just produces all of the threats you need to win by itself. You don't have to go to this end game Flame Destroyer. Even remember the Runeblade Summoner, where we saw those get up to like 28/28s with D-shift. That was fun times.
Runeblade Summoner. Nope.
Nope. Get out. All right.
Man.
So both players in a pretty good spot. I'd say Glow is slightly ahead because he has 2 Dimension Shift.
Just so much more cost-effective for a spell being dropped. On the flip side, GOMMS does have a Giant Chimera that is already being boosted here.
That's true.
For Glow, there actually is no big follower that is being boosted. Now, it can be a little bit irrelevant because even though your followers are expensive, if Dimension Shift gets to the point where it costs 0, you're still having gigantic turns, right, by dropping a follower, playing a 0-cost Dimension Shift, and then passing the turn.
That's right. And small things in this matchup matter too. Like Glow made the risk of putting that amulet in play and giving GOMMS a turn to where he could have Kaleidoscopic loaded, but because he didn't, Glow got away with a Kaleidoscopic Glow on his own.
Yeah.
So
that's a lot of glows.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
So many glows.
They're kind of the hand, at least for GOMMS, is full. But what do you play?
That's the interesting part. So this is the hardest part about the matchup in general. Do you overdraw? Okay. Do you think your hand's good enough? Realistically, if you overdraw and you're not playing anything, you're not going to be playing anything the next turn either, so it gets kind of rough. And that's the hardest part about this matchup in general is, do you play something to give your opponent a target, or do you just overdraw and hope your opponent can't do anything either? It's a really weird matchup.
Oh, he leans into it. Oh my god.
I like it.
Oh, he's very focused, and that's really GOMMS saying, I have most of what I need, which he does actually have quite a lot, right? On a turn, he could probably play some of his Conjure Guardians, maybe the Mysterian Circle, and then Dimension Shift to pass a turn, and then lead into the Giant Chimera and maybe some face swinging.
Yep. And the scary part about this matchup is, okay, because you never know. Did my opponent get it? Can they go off on turn 8? Can I afford to save until turn 8 so that I can actually go off? It looks like Glow did not want to overdraw, so put a follower into play, which will give an out for at least one of these Wind Blasts.
Yeah, definitely wants to figure out how he can spend his play points effectively, and I think you really can only Wind Blast or Fiery Embrace, so it's probably just going to be the Wind Blast.
And then we're probably going to see another overdraw here with a Fate's Hand, basically just trying to pump that Dimension Shift. Needs to get it to 8 so that he can have a chance to win with that Giant Chimera.
Yeah. Let's look at Glow's hand. Can he actually close it out? He has a Magic Owl Evolve, right? This is going to put Dimension Shift at 5. There's going to be a follower now to Fiery Embrace, and that's going to be free. So that puts Dimension Shift at 4. He could probably lead into the second Dimension Shift as well.
Well, let's see. So technically he can go off this turn as far as Dimension Shifts are concerned.
I think he's doing it.
It's about the damage that he can deal overall on top of it. We'll see. Because technically, I think over the course of 2 turns, he could Dimension Shift into Dimension Shift. I just don't know if he has 20 damage built up yet. Doesn't look like it.
GOMMS actually opted not to put a follower down, so Fiery Embrace is not an option, but the Golem Assault is actually quite nice. Okay, so this for sure is kind of the last turn here, right? Because now you have Conjure Guardians that you can drop. You have what is going to be a 0-cost Dimension Shift to reset your play points, and your Chimera is boosted by quite a bit. So that's at least, what, 4
so we're
plus
looking
3
at,
plus 3 plus 4?
Yeah, so we're looking at 7, 10, plus an Evo. Yeah, we're looking at over 10 damage in 2 turns. Yep. So this is it for GOMMS. Has to go here, and he knows it. He knows that, like, basically once you see the Magic Owl, and, you know, I'm just putting this in play. Yes, you're going to spell boost again, but if you don't go off, you know it's coming.
Yeah. I don't think there's a way he can get the... So he needs to ward up, right? At this point, because he's committed.
Unfortunately, even the ward's not going to be good enough. You can't even do that because the first turn you can, when you play your Dimension Shift, you can play a Chimera or you can Evo something and you still get the extra damage over 2 turns with it.
I think GOMMS just could not boost his Dimension Shift fast enough now.
Going second in this matchup is really rough.
It's
You're both
tough.
playing endgame combo decks. being a turn ahead is really helpful.
Yeah. The fact that GOMMS is on turn 7, and really the only way you can fast forward is by using stuff like Magic Owl, right? Because you can evolve first, the Magic Owl gets in there first. That's going to be the biggest way for a player going second to boost quicker. But GOMMS didn't really land in that situation.
He did not. As you can see, he still has all 3 evolution orbs active, never really got the cards he needed, and you see it on Glow's face. He knows he's got it. And now he gets the Dimension Shift win. Very satisfying type of win when you're a Dimension Shift player, when you actually get it off. Feels very good, man.
Fun for me, not fun for you.
That's right. Watch me take a couple turns here, and Glow is going to send GOMMS to the loser side.
Glow continues to demonstrate why he is the top points earner in Southeast Asia.
That's right. Making it look easy, playing this mirror matchup, and just having all the right tools. Specifically speaking, when you see 2 dimension shifts in the mirror in your opening hand, you're like, all right, this feels pretty good.
This feels nice.
Yeah.